How's it going, guys, and welcome back to the channel for another Star Wars gaming video. Now, in today's video, we're going to be discussing the highly anticipated Jedi Fallen Order sequel that we're going to be getting at some point in the next couple of years. We all know that the Star Wars Jedi or Fallen Order name, after the success of the first game, was actually announced to be a franchise, and there has been a ton of leaks regarding the game, some of which I have covered on my channel. There has been hiring listings for the Star Wars department at Respawn, so it is all coming at some point, but everything that game could entail is still completely up in the air right now. Now, there are some things that could be very likely to happen, and I will get into why, and we will speak about it in this video. So we're going to get right into it and break it all down. Now, before we dive into it, just be sure to let me know in the comments what you want to see in Jedi Fallen Order 2, and make sure you are subscribed to the channel with notifications on. But for now, let's dive into the video. So in order to discuss the sequel, we need to go back to the end of the first Jedi Fallen Order. And yes, obviously, spoiler warning, go play the damn game. Anyway, Jedi Fallen Order finishes off with an epic battle with the second sister. Cal defeats her, and then she has a tiny glimpse of redemption as she is killed by Darth Vader. Cal then fights Vader and gets absolutely destroyed, but manages to escape with an unconscious Cere Junda and the holocron, which was the main MacGuffin of the game. This holocron contains a list of Force-sensitive children that can be used to help rebuild the Jedi Order, even though we know how all that works out. Not great for the Jedi. But anyway, Cal destroys the holocron, leaving the fate of the Force-sensitive children up to the Force, whilst also making it impossible for the holocron to fall back into the Empire's hands. Cal then says, "Where to now?" Then credits roll. A solid ending to an amazing game, and it leaves absolutely everything up in the air for what can happen with its sequel. And in my opinion, if Respawn play their cards right, they could have a sequel on their hands that could trump anything we have seen with other Star Wars games. The foundations are there to exceed what was done with the first Fallen Order, and for me, Fallen Order was just about my favorite Star Wars game, so it could be an absolute banger of a sequel. Now, where does that leave us for the sequel? Well, for starters, Vader isn't going to take it very well that two Jedi, Cal and Cere, escaped his clutches with the holocron full of names of Force-sensitive children. Vader is going to be pissed, and he will be absolutely coming for them. I doubt that Vader would relegate the hunting down of Cal to any of the remaining Inquisitors, as if they manage to escape from Vader, I think Vader's going to take it upon himself to hunt them down. Now, this in itself creates an already interesting hook for the sequel. Imagine playing through the game knowing that you have Darth Vader hunting you down the whole time. Now, Cal obviously isn't going to kill Vader, as in the timeline, it will take place before the original trilogy even starts, so we know Vader's fate. But we don't know Cal's. It is assumed that Cal will die in this sequel, and if he is fighting Vader, that would come as no surprise. Cal knows that he is no match for Vader and pretty much stared suicide in the face with his cheeky little one-liner when Vader tells him to surrender in the first game. I loved that line, it really summed up Cal in a nutshell, just badass. Now that brings me on to my next point for this video. I'm telling you right now, I really think that we will see Ahsoka in the sequel. Ahsoka is just in everything right now, she is a real talking point. She was essentially the lead character in the Clone Wars Season 7, and the last 4 episodes were like top tier Star Wars. So she is popular, and she's apparently going to be in The Mandalorian as well. We'll of course find out for sure at the end of the month. But Lucasfilm obviously know that she is popular, and they're milking the character for everything she is worth, so it would be no surprise if she ended up in Fallen Order's sequel. She, after all, is lurking around in this time frame, and it would be so amazing to see more of Ahsoka and Vader going face to face. I wasn't big on Star Wars Rebels personally, but what I did love and I thought was flawless was the interaction between Vader and Ahsoka. Like, that was amazing. And to see more of that explored in Fallen Order's sequel would be amazing. Like, imagine Cal meeting up with Ahsoka, maybe receiving some training to actually stand a chance against Vader, then you and Ahsoka fight Vader and you could have that emotional ending. You could have Cal's death, you could have another top tier Star Wars moment between Vader and Ahsoka. Like, it could be amazing. Now, I say Cal's death because I personally don't like the idea of all these Jedi running around during the original trilogy. I'd rather see Cal's story finish in these games with a meaningful death instead of him riding off into the sunset hiding. It just takes something away from the original trilogy knowing that Cal is running around somewhere whilst Luke is getting the shit kicked out of him by Vader. But I'll talk more on that in a second. But that does make me realize just how sad that Cal's death would be. Like, imagine Vader kills Cal and BD-1 is sitting there all sad. Like, dude, that would kill me. But anyway, moving on to something a little less depressing. Mandalorian Season 2 is going to get weird, we all know that, and there has been a lot of correlation to Fallen Order from what we have heard and seen so far regarding the new season. The start of the Mando Season 2 trailer almost mirrored the start of Fallen Order with the song being played. Like, there is a little something there. Seeing Cal in Season 2 is a stretch, but yeah, it could happen. It's unlikely as hell, but it's possible at this point. There has been similarities floating around, and it's one of the first things that a lot of people actually noticed when the Season 2 trailer dropped. So I mean, never say never. That would of course mean that Cal would have to survive the sequel though. Like I said, I'm not a fan of that idea. Now we could also have some more cameos in this sequel that help with the narrative. Cal could meet up with like Yoda on Dagobah, he could meet up with Obi-Wan on Tatooine. It would be cool to see Cal learn more about Vader in order to defeat him, and meeting up with the likes of Ahsoka, Obi-Wan or Yoda could be a really good way of doing that. Plus, Yoda does mention that Leia and Luke are the final hopes in the galaxy during the original trilogy, so I think it would be right if Yoda knew that Cal was alive, and then also knew of his death, just so that line in Empire Strikes Back continues to make sense. Now, I've talked about the story of the game and how it could be so amazing, but let's talk about the actual gameplay side of things. Now, one of the biggest problems with Fallen Order was how long the game was. Now, if you took the time to explore every nook and cranny, then yeah, you could sink a ton of hours into it. So many people rushed through the story and didn't explore, then wondered why the game was over so quick, but even with all the exploration, it still wasn't technically a huge game. Now, one thing they could do with this sequel is to add a few more planets to explore. I don't think they'll make it open world, but to be honest, with how big planets like Zeffo were in the first game, it at times felt open. Like, there was so much to explore, and it feels endless at times. But a couple more planets in the sequel would be good. I'd love to see Coruscant in there somewhere too. Like, you guys know me, it's my favorite planet, and seeing Cal go back to Coruscant at some stage would be amazing. Cal of course has that Force Echo ability, so imagine if he went back to Coruscant and was able to do his Force Echo thing. You could have some pretty cool stuff going on there. Maybe even if they did have Coruscant in the sequel, they could have the final boss battle there against Vader. Like, that would be insane. Now also, they should add things to the game that make exploring more worthwhile. Unlocking ponchos really isn't that intriguing, so maybe they could do something with that to help encourage people to explore more so people don't speed run the game and then wonder why it was short. Also, another thing I think they should explore more of is Cal's backstory of when he was a Padawan, and do what they did in the first game and tie it into his progression. The flashback sequences for Cal were some of the best moments of the game. Like his training, but more importantly the flashback to Order 66, which was 10 to 15 minutes of legitimate perfection. It was so well done. And like I said before, Cal has a very rare Force ability that allows him to access an echo from the Force in objects. And again, they could explore that really well. Imagine if he picks up an object linked to Vader in some way, and we get more flashbacks from events during Revenge of the Sith like we did in the first game. Like, say Ahsoka and Cal Kestis cross paths and Ahsoka teaches Cal more about Vader and Cal accesses a Force Echo and we get a flashback scene of Anakin's turn to the dark side or something. Now, the first Fallen Order showed that it wasn't afraid to play the nostalgia card. After all, they had an Obi-Wan Kenobi cameo, they had Vader being the final boss, the Order 66 flashback, so I say to hell with it, explore more nostalgia through Cal's unique ability. It's not like they relied on nostalgia for the first Fallen Order game to be amazing. It was great because of the characters and the story. Adding new characters like Taron Malicos, the Second Sister, Night Sister Merrin, Jaro Tapal, and of course Cal Kestis. So I say have fun with nostalgia, just don't go overboard. Now, the final gameplay change that I would love to see in this sequel that could improve the lightsaber combat a ton is to have more of the dual wielding lightsabers. Now, to Fallen Order's credit, it allows you to use a single lightsaber, a double-edged lightsaber, or dual lightsabers. but the dual lightsabers were really limited with the use. It was just an ability as opposed to a permanent feature. I say make it a permanent feature for players who want to dual wield, and while they're at it, they should probably expand the skill tree a little bit more just to make it more advanced instead of being so basic. But yeah, everything we just spoke about I think is fairly plausible to see in the sequel-ish, and if they done half of the things we talked about in this video, I have no doubt that we'd have a Game of the Year candidate on our hands. I think EA have an awesome little franchise on their hands with these Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order games, and I'd love to see them expand it and grow it to different eras, but to just finish off Cal's story first with this sequel and do it well. So yeah, I cannot wait for this game. It is going to be amazing. I will cover its development process as we start to learn a little bit more about it. But that is just about all I wanted to cover in this video, so be sure to comment below and let me know what you want to see in the Fallen Order sequel, and make sure that you are subscribed to the channel with notifications on. But that is going to do it for me today. Be sure to drop a like on the video if you did enjoy it, and I'll catch you all in the next one.